Welcome, welcome, welcome. A really warm welcome to this afternoon's Global Fashioning Assembly. My name is Erica de Vries, and I'm welcoming a very important and exciting contribution to the Global Fashioning Assembly that's joining all the other contributions that we've already journeyed around the world and then will continue to journey for the rest of this month of October. So just a very short introduction as to why we are choosing this format is so often with fashion conferences, we've found that people that come to the conference, but also the voices of who we listen to at these conferences are very exclusive, and we wanted to create something far more inclusive and far more diverse. So in 2022, we had the first global fashioning assembly where we had 14 different coalitions or collectives around the world sharing their fashion and their fashioning knowledges with us. And this process was about moving from one place to the next around the globe. And we did 2022, we followed the sun sort of from the east to the west. But in this 2 years later, we're now joined by 20 collectives. So today we're joined by the Witches of the East, who are joining us from, or are hosting us, I should say, in Turkey. And they're going to share some of their work, some of their creative practice, some of the exciting projects that they've been involved in. And then we've journeyed, already we've had visits to Chile, to the Netherlands, to Mexico, to Kazakhstan, and yesterday we were in Nairobi, and we'll continue for the rest of the month. So do join us for the rest of the exciting coalitions. But I think I'm going to hand it over to Charlene Kiepels, and who's really sort of put this together. And yeah, thank you so much, Charlene, for having us.
Thank you so much, Erica. First of all, I would like to thank you to you, Erica, and Angela, and they are the founders of Research Collective for Decolonial Fashion Studies. And so through this we met, and we are happy to be a part of this amazing event. So throughout all the year that we kind of try to prepare, and we founded 1.5 years ago. Actually, we are a new collective, and my name is Şölen Kipöz, and we are together with Derya Irktaşlıoğlu, Filiz Özbengi Uslu, Elif Tekcan, and Dilek İmam from the collective. So we are actually a Turkish group of academics coming from different design fields. We have a nice film that I won't talk about the collective in that aspect, but first I would like to talk about the witchery idea. You know, where does this witchery idea comes from? So we actually inspire from this witchcraft, which has roots in pagan culture, as our source of inspiration. And to make it more clear, you know, how witches in the past were oppressed by this patriarchal system. Since we define ourselves a kind of ecofeminist collective, I would like to read a part from the book Witches, Midwives and Nurses by Barbara Ehrenreich and Deidre English. They say witches lived and were burned long before the development of modern medical technology. The suppression of witches, who were mostly healers serving the rural population from the darkness of the Middle Ages onward, points to one of the struggles in human history related to the suppression of women healers. It signifies the creation of a patriarchal medical science under the patronage of the ruling class. So there is a kind of class distinction in the history, and there is a kind of patriarchal powers and these healing powers that we kind of associate with the magic of design. That's why we call this session design magic, and our material is textile. So this design magic by us, we hope that is created by textile craft. But you know, this is the history of Western so-called witch story. In geography of Anatolia, however, healers are very different from the feminine notion of that concept that which generally evoked in the Western society, which is associated with dark powers. These women in Anatolia, mostly in our history, and Anatolia, by the way, is in Turkish, Anadolu, and Anadolu is the mother land. So this is very kind of feminine land. And we had these Amazons in our past in Anatolia. So they were healers. They were bring about healing, and they nurtured and multiply life. However, during the Enlightenment period, when nature was accepted as feminine and Eastern, and science and economic development were seen as masculine and Western, it also happened, the separation between design and craft, by the way, in the history of modernity, even in industrial design and fashion design history. The separation of nature and science sowed the seeds of this patriarchal and colonial system, which naturally resulted in the suppression of witches. Just like the development of science, the growth of fashion and design industry has been also developed in a patriarchal and colonial way. How? In the fashion system, since Industrial Revolution, which also mark the Anthropocene era, the legitimation of design and the creation of brand value have developed within a patriarchal structure and always associated with masculine power. So this exchange value was created by men, not women, and women were producers of craft, domestic craft. Women, of course, become invisible in the system, either fueling or forming the labor force in the industry. Still, maybe we know this, 85% of the industry labor is constituted by women. With globalization, and colonialism, of course, continued as a separation of global north, which actually used global south as not only the workshop, but also a kind of waste box, maybe, that I would also say. And however, of course, it is the women still who have sought solutions to the environmental and social destruction caused by fashion, and who have pioneered ethical fashion, because when we look at the general profile of the proponents of sustainable fashion in the world, there are women academics, there are women designers. I mean, it's still that when 85% of women labor is working in the industry, there's still 85% of women intellectuals are working for this. So in Turkey, we women also have played the most important role in the development of fashion and design. Our healing and caregiving skills are inherited from the wisdom of Anatolia, as I said, and from the revolutions of our republic, whose we are this year, not last year. I mean, we have been celebrating the 100-year anniversary, and of course, it was also coming from the constructive and regenerative relationships we have developed with nature and culture. And skills we inherited from our grandmothers, of course. The tacit knowledge, the local and the tacit knowledge that we cannot copy this knowledge. Actually, we are inherited, but we cannot mimic it. That built on the alchemy of Anatolian shamanism, contain a form of natural witchcraft already. One of our sources of inspiration That's why it comes from Anatolian folk practices, which include plants and nature in general. Shamanic practices in Anatolia, by the way, that we can find this Anatolian shamanism in Kutat Kubilik, this source that this wisdom of these witches, the woman, the grandmothers, including herbal folk remedies, are rooted in these mystical abilities of healing wisdom. And supernatural healing abilities of Anatolian women should stand out in the 21st century for us. So we actually adopted this, maybe we believe that we are inherited this kind of wisdom or would like to inherit. For us, of course, there are some troubles about this, why we need healing, why we need to increase caregiving as a kind of practice, because for us, Mother Gaia is suffering and she needs this healing power. We must learn to give back to her what we take, because it is not anymore going circular that we are stealing from nature and we don't give back. So this is what we refer as a nature-based spirituality that fosters tranquility and focus for fashion, our bodies, and our souls in our practice. Fashion and textiles, of course, have long been pioneers of change, action, diversity. However, when we look at the values and practice of the industrial system, collectivism, sharing, participation, change, and flexibility are being eroded under the weight of mass production and consumerism at the moment. And it is time for us to question our human-centered worldview that sees nature as merely a source to be exploited. In a world where displacement, migration, and vulnerabilities are not exceptions, but the norm, they are becoming the norm, the fashion and textile industries bear a heavy responsibility here. While clothes are thrown away every second, lives are being displaced due to ecological and social crisis. As the Witches of the East Collective, we present our manifesto as a call to action guided by the principle of symbiosis. We will explain what we mean by symbiosis. It's a concept of Donna Haraway, which actually also inspired our first collective exhibition. So we are at a critical crossroads, both socially and ecologically. Now it is the time for slow, compassionate, and responsible co-creation. As Witches of the East Collective, we pledge to be agents of change, weaving a new fabric of fashion that respects both people and the planet. Through our collective efforts, we aim to shift the paradigm from exploitation to empathy, from waste to wonder, and from indifference to compassion. At this point in time, the fashion and design industry plays a significant role in all the crises and vulnerabilities threatening the vitality of the world, taking on a form that challenges both planetary and human vitality. And at this point, as the Witches of the East, so desperately needed by the West, but yet unrecognized, how can we heal and be healed through design? So this was actually my introduction about our understanding of our foundation. And now we will read our manifesto to you together. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I will start. We have summarized all our activities and what we do because we're all from different design disciplines. So we gathered around 16 items, principles, let's say. I will read the first 4. So with establishing the Witches of the East, we would like to establish a harmonious experience, coexistence between human and nature by adopting a life-centered perspective rather than a human-centered one, and by accepting that we're not separate from nature, but a part of it. Also by remembering that our land is our body, and by respecting our roots and the ancient knowledge of the past, by valuing our body and our world.
By experiencing nature-based spirituality for fashion, by recognizing the healing, restorative, integrative, and multiplying power of design, by pioneering the spread of production practice that follows the cycle of nature and the body, not the industry. And by remembering that every material, design, and garment we produce is made using natural assets, by protecting biodiversity, and by allowing nature to repair itself without challenging its capacity and cycles.
And I'm continuing with our next philosophies, belongs to our manifest. By knowing how much we take from nature, by sharing the joy and abundance of the West, by opening space for others, and by living the place we've been as we found it. By realizing that every clothing item we throw away before completing its life cycle turns into piles that grow uncontrollably in landfills, and that these piles are displaced and harm other people on the other side of the world. By knowing that what is old for fashion can be new for us, by adopting a philosophy of slowness that follows the time of clothes, not of fashion, creating an inclusive, embracing, and solidaristic slow fashion culture by aiming for collective well-being and healing, and by building an ecofeminist value system that prioritizes fair share between natural assets, peoples, individuals, and generations against a fashion system that creates social vulnerabilities through climate injustice, waste, and labor exploitation.
Also by creating the conditions of feeling safe, which is the basis of being a community in difficult times. By overcoming the environmental and social traumas and vulnerabilities created by the fashion and design industry. By finding a symbiotic pathway for caring, repairing, healing, and well-being. By creating a community fabric open to joyful collaboration and activism, by being catalyst for change within the larger network of women's wisdom, by promoting multivocality, by re-evaluating local and tested knowledge through ecofeminist design approaches that prioritize displaced communities, minorities, marginalized groups, children, animals, and nature, by harnessing the power of the commons to foster the emergence of a set of values between producers and users of design artifacts that will ensure the well-being of society.
By getting inspiration from the resilience of feminine energy, by encouraging a regenerative relationship between body and garment, by building restorative patterns and cocoons of change, by contemplating design as a medium that brings diversity to the network and that builds an egalitarian future by challenging conventions and creating synergies, by embracing the leftover, the waste, and the imperfect, by giving credit to happy accidents and errors in design, by adapting slow, circular, activist, collaborative, and regenerative design methods such as upcycling, reuse, natural dyeing, eco-printing, and biodesign.
So these are the issues of our manifesto for now. And we, of course, are ready to collaborate with people and develop different issues about manifesto. Like we made a workshop about developing a kind of co-manifesto with a group of people in Izmir. And this was one of the first activities after our exhibition. And we will also shortly present these offers, proposals from people to you. And now we have a 6-minute short film. I would say it's a kind of production about our biography for the last 1 year, that's how we worked, what kind of events we did, and our definition as a collective, redefinition as a collective, and we can watch it together, and then After we can go more deeper about explanation of our projects.
The Witches of the East Collective, consisting of 6 women designers, is a non-profit ecofeminist design group aiming to heal the relationship between humans and nature through ethical, symbiotic, circular, and slow design practices. They define themselves as follows: we come from disciplines of textile and fashion design, industrial design, and architecture. We define ourselves as upcyclers, biodesigners, farmers, and ethical foragers. We conduct multidisciplinary work focusing on the production of design, materials, methods, and knowledge with the intention to repair, heal, and rebuild the exploitative, patriarchal, and unjust fashion system. Since 2012, members of the collective have carried out individual work in fields such as upcycling, collaborative social design practices, circular design, ecological dyeing techniques, and biomaterials. Starting in 2019, they began working together within various projects. Their first collective work, titled A Sympoetic Fashion Practice, Ties, was exhibited at the International Textile Biennial in Izmir from September 1st to November 24th, 2023. Through this installation, which was located in the Atlas Pavilion in Kulturpark and referenced Donna Haraway's concept of symbiosis, symbiogenesis, the collective highlighted the fragile social and ecological bonds related to displacement, migration, and relocation, expressing them through wearable textile patterns. Following this exhibition, they were invited to the Art Meet Festival on November 2, 2024, where they presented their manifesto with a performance titled, Design Guided by Female Wisdom. They asked participants about their expectations and expanded the framework of their manifesto with suggestions from the audience. Distributing cards with strings attached, made from leftover papers from studio projects, they asked, "What kind of textile and clothing world do you imagine?" and created a wish tree with the responses. The following year at the Art Meet Festival, they held a one-day workshop titled States of the Bath, Touching Water and Soap with local women at the Agra Community Center in Basmane. Inspired by the newly opened public bathhouse in the area, they designed a bath kit to meet the women's needs for washing and cleansing. Together with the women, they produced and personalized fabric bags by dyeing them with plants, and also made soap. In addition to individual activities such as talks and podcast recordings about the collective's philosophy and actions, they regularly attend the Global Fashion Assembly meetings, an international network initiated by the Research for Decolonial Fashion Collective. In October 2024, they will host an online participate to this event by hosting a session called as Design Magic Through Craft, Textile Alchemy, amongst 20 activist communities from 26 countries across 6 continents. Another virtual meeting took place in June titled Conversations on Decoloniality and Fashion, Designing Goods, Crafting Community, What is Really Being Lost, welcoming 2 guests from Turkey, Karakaga Studio and design brand Cash Istanbul, to discuss the struggles and resilience of locality and slowness against the mass-produced fashion industry. On September 12, 2024, they organized a workshop called Wearing Scent, where they explored the boundaries and possibilities of the relationship between scent, senses, and textiles, clothing. Poet-curator Nihat Ounsdal emphasized the connection between scent, memory, and senses, and how different scents can be touched through fabric. At the same workshop, a collective who define themselves as Herbal People community led an exploration of how personal scents can be created using essential oils, based on participants' intentions, and how these scents interact with fabric. The workshop was held at K2 Yola Breath Space, where the lunch served was designed to complement the sensory experience. The latest activities of the collective cover a group exhibition and participation to an international project funded by Swedish Institute. In collaboration with an NGO, Association of Collective Impact Programme from ISMA and Art 10 Gallery from Stockholm, members of the collective presented an artist talk in Stockholm Craft Week. The collective lately participated to the contract-themed group exhibition as a part of Art Meet Festival supported by ISMA Metropolitan Municipality, set to open at Historical Cultural Centre in Basmane, ISMA. Their interdisciplinary project, titled Hydrophilic Textiles, Body, Clothing, Water, featured clothing designed from rainwater-dyed fabrics.
Okay. Thank you, Daria. So, of course, some of the events you can find if you follow us from our Instagram page, which is of this collective. Even we actually documented our manifesto. And if that there is another film that we can go deeper about these activities, but if there are any comments and any questions in the middle of these, maybe we can make it a little bit interactive. What do you think?
It's not so much that I have a question or a comment. I'm just in awe. I'm just speechless. I think it's absolutely amazing what you guys are doing. And the only thing that, and I should say you ladies are doing, sorry. The only thing that came up in my mind is, oh my God, this needs to go global. As in what the assembly is doing, bringing all these local initiatives together. I was like, oh my God, can we become the witches of the North, or can we become the witches of the West, or like, you know? My brain just got completely wild. I mean, honestly, again, and I'm a very critical person, but I have no critique whatsoever.
I know, Anthony. But it's a witches movement can be a good idea, really. Why not?
Really, really. I mean, I really think this is such a big step in the right direction. You know, the whole, sorry, but, you know, female power, wisdom, the healing, you know, the journey to healing, I think really, I mean, I'm just speechless. That's all I want to say.
Thank you so much. It's very, yes, Göknil, welcome, Göknil. Göknil is a founder of a very important slow fashion brand in Turkey. You know, I closely follow her work. Yes. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Şölen Hanım, for you know, letting me know about this event. It was I didn't know if I could make it, but somehow I did. Still, I have some things going on parallel, but I am really inspired by the work you did, the video, all the story you have been telling is very, you know, it's very exciting for me, for a person who is trying to work in the field for like 5 years now. It's not easy. I know it is something you are, for me, you are the pioneer of the slow fashion in Turkey, really. And I always believed that this ecosystem, sometimes, you know, I was a magazine sent me a like kind of an interview to ask some questions and answers, and sometimes, you know, they expect too much from the brands, I think. My perspective. to be honest. Of course, it's a collective issue. The NGOs, the academy, the brands, the consumers, we are all consumers on one hand. So I find every effort in collective, it means a lot, and this is sometimes lacking in Turkey, I think. So yes, it has to go global, but we have so much to do in Turkey, first of all, I believe. I work with some women collectives in Ankara, in Istanbul, in Tokat, in Hatay, and we try to upcycle our fabric leftovers into new products. It's a very labor-intense process, as you all know. But yeah, sometimes we are, of course, we are a brand and we try to keep up with the social media, the sales, and running the business. Even it's a social business, it's still a business. And in Turkey, every day we have a new challenge to deal with. So, but hearing about your story inspired me a lot. Thank you for including me. I hope we can develop new projects. If I personally and as Guy, if we can contribute in any way, I will be delighted really, and would love to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there might be more witches from the industry as well. Yeah. Ceylan would like to say something.
Hi, I'm Ceylan Eşit from İzmir. I'm one of Şölen's students, I think. I'm an artist and a pattern designer, and I'm in university as multidisciplinary art and design in 9 Eylül University. I should say that I worked media and communication systems, but it was visually more lessons. After many disasters, after pandemic, fashion, textile, I think the world and the inequality all over the world should heal by the peace, feminine energy, and so we can integrate with the witches, yes, because we need feminine energy, and feminine energy means peace, slow activeness, and creativity. Everyone needs creativity to be slow and don't want danger. If you can take creativity to yourself by any creativeness, I think all over the world, the person you win is under not danger anymore. It's the healing part, I think, and it's not the point for fashion, but fashion means so much points, and Şölen's slow fashion is Şölen and the other collective thinkers in the book Şölen. What was the name of the book? Slow fashion book. It means so much after pandemic, and it's not only Turkey. I think the whole universe, maybe.
Thank you. Erika is one of the co-authors of the book, by the way, proudly.
Mm-hmm. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Ceylan is a very creative artist, really. That's why she talks
Thank you.
about it. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for the comments.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
Şölen Türkçe anlatayım mı?
Çok uzamasın. İstersen daha sonraki bölümlerde daha sonra yapabilir miyiz? Tekrar dönebilir miyiz?
Tabii ben anlatırım. Tekrar anlatırım bu konuyu.
Yani ekstra yani söylemek istediğim bir cümle, bir şey varsa onu
Tabii. Şöyle diyeyim. Yavaş moda, yani slow fashion, dünya anlamında bir iyileştiriciliği var ve bu sadece her insan için hızlı moda değil, sadece hızlı yaşamdan uzaklaşmak ve onları tehlikeden kurtarmak için kreativite ve bütün bu anlamlar her bireyi koruyabilecek nitelikte. Bence bu önemli.
She found really healing powers in adopting a slow fashion principles, but what I call it slowness actually, not slow fashion, because
Yes.
I really find that, I mean, what Göknil Vitgi is practicing slow fashion, but this is the industrial side of it, because at the end of the day, there is an economy over there. Has to be.
Slowness is general form, yes.
Slowness is about adapting a kind of mindset and philosophy, and of course you can adapt to everywhere, and lifestyle, living, slow living. So this is also, our book was also a little bit the critical about the state of the art of slow fashion understanding, or kind of maybe rereading of the slow fashion understanding. And she found this is kind of path. I also agree with Ceylan, probably that we kind of adopted circularity, but we still could not really understood idea of slow yet in the fashion industry. So we need to work on that more. I mean, it's not only a kind of doctrine against, kind of antidote against the fast fashion system, but it's a kind of different alternative ethical way of living and doing, I think, also what she wants to refer. So
Messages. I see the questions.
mm-hmm.
I think
there are some questions.
Yes, there are some questions on the text chat box. So maybe we can actually answer some of those questions when we go through the extended video, because there we will talk about the inspiration and the processes and the challenges that we've actually encountered. So that might be answering some of your questions. But there are so many projects we did. One thing maybe we would like to highlight was we were offered these workshops to go and listen to a certain community, or if there was a problem with our rainwater or something. So these were actually kind of not our selection at first, but was given to us. And we would always go and search for either the user, like what were their needs, or nature. In one of those cases, we worked with rainwater. Everybody collected samples from all around. And we usually join those efforts with natural solutions, but we also include lab experiments. That's always like a must. We do both. We work scientifically also, and we put our know-how into the process. And we will talk in detail, I think, from project to project, we can make that distinction.
Yeah. I think there is not so much question, but it's more there is a comment about that they know more about. They want to know more about the details. Maybe through the film that we can continue to talk with the first project, the Textile Biennale, the Symbiosis project, and we can continue with the other projects, so that then we will have more points to discuss. Okay, I think this film is a kind of flow of all the events. So the first one was symbiotic fashion practice, which we actually presented in the Izmir Textile Biennale. It was an international biennale, and we were invited by the curator. The conceptual framework about this is started with about displacement, actually, the project. So every day, every second, hundreds of people, productions and life forms are migrating and being displaced due to planetary and social vulnerabilities. Planetary vulnerabilities such as climate crisis, biodiversity loss, water scarcity, and pollution disproportionately affect social vulnerabilities and life forms. The displacement of people from their homes due to the war, persecution, ecological crisis, drought, erosion, and natural disasters continues, of course, to create social, cultural, and economic problems at both global and local scales. Similarly, we found textile objects and garments are also displaced by becoming waste due to the fashion system's lack of responsiveness to ecological and social vulnerabilities. In the global supply chain, every second a truckload of garments is sent to landfills for disposal, while the global south, which has become the cheap sweatshop and dumping ground of the global north, is the weakest link in the cut and paste industry, and it becomes a subject to the migration of 40 people every minute due to climate crisis and drought. Filizciğim belki bir durdurabiliriz filmi. Çünkü o bölüme kadar bir şey anlatalım. Burada durduralım, sonra devam edelim. Çünkü başka etkinliklere geçiyor ya. The first couple of slides were about this idea that I was talking about. Of course, in addition to unfair working conditions, textile waste, which is one of the most important outputs of planetary crisis, is also displaced from global north to the global south, creating waste and labor colonialism. The people of countries in global south, the people of countries in the global south sacrifice their lives to collect, transport, and dispose of these unwanted wastes, almost becoming these compulsory waste collectors and upcyclers. So they naturally become designers. But every week, Accra's Cantonment region is a kind of paradigmatic place, of course, about this problem, sees a migration of 60 containers and 15 million used clothes, 40% of which are just such low quality so that they cannot even upcycle. That's why they call these clothes obrani wawu, which means the dead white man's homeless clothes. So this is, I think, very tragic. I heard some stories, I read some stories that women who were carrying these wastes accidentally kill their babies sometimes. While the recycling industry is still based on mechanical separation, because we are so much believing circularity and we are so much expecting from circularity at the moment, and circularity also becomes a kind of cause of maybe that we can spend more or we can buy more clothes so that they can be recycled or circulated in the system, but only 1% of the fabrics can be recycled in closed loop system in the economies of scale. And this system does not provide a solution to the exploitation of workers even. In the global fashion system, with its colonial and patriarchal character, these vulnerable and fragile communities, including women, migrants, children, and queer communities, as well as natural and wildlife, are affected by biodiversity loss and displacement and resettlement. So they become the even most vulnerable communities due to global climate crisis even. For this exhibition, which took place on September 2023 at Atlas Pavilion Kültür Park in Izmir within the frame of Turkish International Textile Biennale, we have consulted Don Haraway's concept of symbiosis, symbiogenesis. Symbiosis is actually making with, it means making with. And Haraway refers as no system is autonomous or self-organizing. It is a way of worldling with forming complex systems such as cells, organisms, and ecological assemblages. So in this context, we presented an installation that expresses the fragile social ecological bonds of displacement, migration associated with the textile and fashion system through wearable textile patterns based on the concept of connectivity and creative symbiosis. the installation consisted of the interconnected and interrelated wearable textile artifacts of the 6 designers as our designs. And we actually try to create a kind of bond by braiding of waste textiles. Here we focused, of course, a kind of more slower, restorative and compassionate, more caring and more responsible co-creation practice in collaboration with nature, labor, objects and materials, focused on circular existence. And we actually thought of 4 different themes in the framework. One was about plant migration and ethical foraging, which includes designing and coloring practices by collaborating with nature, respecting and this to the ways that how we harvest and forage ethically, rewilding and growing by protecting diversity, living systems and interspecies interaction by adapting ecological symbiosis. Here, of course, Dilek maybe have some words to say about this. The starting point of this migration of plants and woodlands due to climate change, of course, that there was also a kind of displacement here, and the growth and reproduction of species by relocating species like birds, for example. We can see that due to certain kind of natural disasters, some of the species migrated, and due to climate crisis, some of the species need to move. And we also wanted to represent through a kind of embroidery these kind of spaces in the installation. But there are also some pieces which were created from naturally dyed fabrics and printed with plants and branches and roots collected by these ethical collecting methods with the consent of the plant, as Dilek could explain better than me. Would you like to say something about this, Dilek, or what you did for the exhibition? Maybe we can we start the film again so that we can see this part again, maybe, Filiz?
Hocam, you explained in a very detailed way, but maybe I can add something. I'm sure in your cultures it's same. I mean, it's a global issue, I think, for now. Harvest ethics, protecting. I think people are, for us, people are forgetting about that plants have also some rights. Also, there are human rights. There are so many bad things going on. But for us, everything, every element, every plant needs this type of relations. That's why while producing our products, we didn't took things, we didn't, we just collected things that we saw on the ground, for instance. We were kind of paying attention to that. Melis here, for instance, she is also dalgıç diver. She was collecting things from the sea. Daria was collecting things, algae. We didn't want to harm that we saw around. Just we were collecting. We were just talking with plants. Suddenly, as a witch, you should have the sense. I'm sure you feel that too. That was really our priority while producing the things. That's why our process was so precious for us, for all those 6 witches, let me say. We didn't give harm anything. I mean, we were believing that, we are still believing that, of course, everything has its own feelings. So we are trying to get some connections between those materials too. And that was also still very important thing in our projects. For in the continuing parts, you will see that relation too. That was
natural extracts, as you say, is not only the industrial waste, but how do we trade to nature? What kind of relationship we are having with nature is another thing, and in what aspect that the textile practice could have a kind of connection with that, our relationships that we build with nature. We developed a project with Daria. I mean, it's not here, but because it was before the collective founded, and we collected all these plants in autumn which fall down, like the fall of autumn kind of plants. Daria, yes, do you want to say something about that? And Daria did an experiment on that, what she referred at the lab and experiment, scientific experiment. And here the role of designer is also changing. Like the designer is like some kind of a scientist almost, isn't it?
It's almost like exactly like this, or an alchemist. My
Alchemy.
work, it's because I'm a product designer. I like to work on geometries that I can build, and I love how I can do it with natural processes. So we were trying to build up, because the fashion, body, and textile, we were working around those natural chemicals, by the way, and how we would grow. We were growing crystals on textile, and with anything that was collected from nature, and each had a different reaction to the geometry of the crystals. That was fascinating, by the way. The type of fabric changed the structure, the type of, we collected dead little bugs to plants to dust, anything that would change the chemical reaction, so that it would change the formation of the crystal. So we did so many experiments. This was exactly before we founded the Witches of the East, but that's how it actually started. We found that connection that, okay, one of us likes to go into the lab and experiment, and one of us is an ethical forager who works on natural dyes. So can we all put that in a pot and boil it all together, do something that the fashion industry is not doing, and maybe lead the way to a better and sustainable fashion industry. That's how it all started. And I want to say our resources are usually waste materials or collected materials, foraged materials, or repurposed materials. We do have, of course, because we're working with companies also, but they also have so much waste. And I thought industrial designers were the bad guys, really. But when I dug deeper into fashion, I realized that fashion's on the whole ecosystem is unbelievable. So that's why I was kind of like, okay, I need to maybe extend my work and look into fabric and textiles and what could be done there. So majority of our materials are also waste materials from companies that they either burn it or bury it, but they don't repurpose it. So we're kind of actually trying to change that.
Also here, I mean, we had, plenty of the waste fabrics that the students do not use, the companies do not use. They are sending it to schools. They are making it wait in the storage. They don't have any more economic value, unfortunately. And for us, when something is never get old for fashion, it's suddenly get old. So that creates the idea of waste, actually. So actually, we had two more themes that's what we refer as what is left behind and what is overlooked. That's very much relevant with that idea. And here,
and there are the opposites. This collection was actually repurposed materials, but also on my side, my pitch was fast fashion. So if you're already gonna throw away something, why not make it out of something that would dissolve into nature and would leave no trace because it would be a biomaterial. So with additional my collection was from materials that would degrade. So it's like bags, hats, shoes, you know, all those fast fashion items, seasonal items. If you want to wear it once, great. I mean, here are your bio shoes. Wear them once, chuck it away, and nature will take care of it. So that's always a critique on the existing system. That's what we're trying to. So we're just criticizing and also showing the possibilities that it can be done.
Through these methods of upcycling, biophilic design, biodesign, designers can transform so many materials such as waste fabrics, textiles, fish scales that we use as, maybe you use that one. Bioplastics, kind of creating a bioplastic into sustainable and more innovative forms of clothing. So we actually had to turn back to material. I'm a fashion and clothing designer for a long time, but I could not underestimate the material aspect, when because you cannot satisfy with what is given to you, and it's always try to build a kind of innovative idea about if you're trying to cure, if you're trying to heal, there should be always a kind of creative response there, otherwise it's the continuation of this system is just mechanically turning something into something functional is not working, I think. So you have to give another meaning and narrative to it. We actually try to do it, like biomaterials here, for example, which is also one of the overlooked, which can be obtained by fermenting cellulose into biofilm, as a result of the symbiotic relationship, again, between bacteria and the yeast, grown in cooperation with living organisms. By the way, they are growing by themselves. This is also very interesting, like life. Sometimes we cannot control this. Or using with textile fabrics, like here, that what I did, that kind of bird cocoon, kind of nesting space. Like it's also sometimes using textiles, but innovating another way of crafting, like braiding, creating a kind of structure, and then referring to a kind of problem of displacement, a kind of exploited species, that also kind of heals us. First, it has to heal us, I think. First, when I'm designing, I think that I have to cure myself first, and we cannot see that, but the pieces that we wanted to represent was embroidered by a friend of ours, Begüm Yazar. So we drove these pieces, which were threat of extinction in Turkey through this climate crisis and natural disasters. For example, the 6 February earthquakes was very effective in that aspect. And the southern eastern part of Turkey is the migration geography of birds, and many of the birds are, of course, having a kind of trait of vitality at that aspect. And we wanted to represent them, the plants, flowers, birds there as well. So the last theme was about feminine and restorative patterns of this exhibition. And in this theme, we also wanted to reflect the textile forms in interconnected patterns with fabrics, which create a disembodied, formless, fluid, and dynamic cocoon almost. And by developing a feminine, therapeutic, soma-aesthetic approach to the practice of garment design and the act of wearing, of course, a more generative bond with clothes is here tried to be reconstructed. And here we also inspire from a shamanic woman's hair braid. That I have to say that, and I use this hair braid also for me, you know, for my hair, and I like it. Interwoven textile patterns of varying thickness and texture form the wearable shell that which becomes resilient yet fluid. Here, I think we develop a kind of more activist, ecofeminist, craftivist, even a kind of craftivist approach in slow design is adopted. So anyone else would like to say something about their works? Elif and Filiz, would you like to say something as well? Filiz also, I mean, it's not visible, but she also used textile threads like streaks.
That I collected from the studios.
The studio, yeah, the studios are full of waste, you know, when we are working in the school, yeah. And she created a bioplastic, and Elif also created something by using braids.
I've actually used textile waste. Some of those wastes came from my own previous productions, but some came from industrial waste, as Sholan Hoca already told. Actually, companies are donating us some fabrics. They are mostly they are end of the rolls. So we are trying to use these fabrics in our designs sometimes to avoid waste. Of course, while designing also, it's important to not to generate extra waste. Also, in this design, for instance, I try to follow a zero waste approach by using more rectangular pieces together. So, for example, natural fabrics came from my earlier productions, but synthetic textiles came from the industrial waste. But somehow, with a similar design language, let's say, I try to bring them together without generating extra waste. But maybe, actually, we already told it, but of course, as 6 witches, we have certain commons. And we actually listed these common values in our manifesto. But I think this exhibition, this project was also good to show our differences. We are coming from different backgrounds. For example, Derya she's an industrial designer. I'm a fashion designer. Dilek Hoca also, she's an engineer at the same time. So we also have different powers. We have different know-how. We have different set of tools. I think this exhibition is also, it's powerful to reflect our differences in addition to our similar approach in design.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, maybe we can continue with the next event then. Is the workshop. Yeah, maybe we can continue with the film. Yeah, it's a workshop that we were invited actually as witches of this collective. After this exhibition, people started to know us, and there was an art festival, and the curator invited us, and we did a couple of hours workshop, which we actually wanted to rewrite or co-write our manifesto with people together, and we asked them what are their expectations, what are their desires. Actually, we presented our manifesto, we explained ourselves, and people are interested in to join us and collaborate with us. And the waste papers that we collected from studios were the materials. Again, we cut them, and we created some papers with that people can write with the strings attached. Again, that the strings were also, they were the waste, textile waste from the industry that were brought to the studios. and we could break them, of course. And everyone wrote different kind of ideas that they could collaborate, they could contribute to our idea, to our understanding of the witchery wisdom and design creativity, the ethical fashion, sustainability, slowness, circularity, these ideas. So then they hanged on the we created a kind of artificial tree. Actually, that's not a kind of real tree, but in the it was a night evening, and so it was fun. It was enjoyable. I think we wanna continue to make this kind of co-manifesto kind of workshops with people, and somehow after some time maybe we can rewrite our manifesto when we learn more things about that the things that the idea that we would like to create. Of course, that it's the process of learning also for us. Yeah, that's the most enjoyable part about workshops. I think that you learn, you explain, you share, and there is not a kind of concrete result. Of course, sometimes that's not like a kind of design exhibition, but I think it's still, the process is quite valuable to record and to remember. Daria wrote for the cat, is the cat wants the fish, actually. Yeah. The cat the cat also asked something that we assume there is a cat in Turkey. Always there's a cat joining us in the exhibitions in our school. So they make our lives more biophilic. I think that we love to live with them. Do you want to contribute? Which is any other ideas, any other takeovers about this event? You want to say something? Efendim.
Can I say something about workshops?
Yes, please.
I participate, I think, 2 or 3 workshop about your first workshop in good design, Izmir, in French Institute, and I think regularly 3 or 4 workshop about IC sustainability, and it's very great, the magic, because you can escape from the life, and you can take the magic of creativity in a very short wave. And I think these workshops could make bigger amounts of people. I think it should be expanded. And not only for designers. I think maybe all creative minds. So
exactly, that's what we will show you right now with women community is actually responding to that demand. Probably, yeah. Even Ceylan, you are right. I think it's a workshop is a kind of very condensed way of learning and experiencing. It's not like a school course. Sometimes my students also joining to my workshop, that mostly I do about upcycling, and I have these doll projects which I carry on with children. With children is a different story, but when there are adults in the workshops, Filizciğim burada bir durdur istersen, onu Derya anlatacak bu bölümü. When you work with adults, that sometimes I also create some workshops with high school ladies and gentlemen. I would say. Yeah, not designers, actually non-designers. Working with non-designers and upcycling short time is amazingly creative sometimes. Sometimes you don't see this from my or our students. Sometimes the students can find it quite difficult doing something in a very short time because they get used to a kind of in a very Cartesian way of designing, like that they have to think about the concept, they have to do the mood boards, they have to do the sketches. The academic system completely guides us in a very organized and linear way, that which I'm a part of it also, that way, because we have to use this time.
More functional and more easy way, maybe. At the same time.
And yes, as you refer, sometimes when a design student also joins such a kind of workshop, they sometimes have a difficulty about doing, executing a kind of work in a very short time, in a very practical way. But a more amateur person, a non-designer person can respond more easily, more quickly. So you never know. I mean, the creativity in you, that who knows, yeah, sometimes you always see different reactions. This is the most beautiful thing about workshops.
Yes, yes, I see in your workshops and people and me, and in the good design I start to so again, I think.
Yeah, I think I remember you, it was the first garment design you tried to execute with me.
Yes, yes, I make color dyeings, but not sewing for many years.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we continue with another project, if you permit, or if you have any questions, just keep on, remember, so that we can have it, or you can write in the chat box. So Daria will talk about this. So how we actually develop another creative space with non-designers and a kind of woman community in a local area in Izmir. And it's very much referring to what we refer as textile alchemy, I think.
Yes, and this project was also brought to us by the municipality. This particular place, Agora, as you know, Agora is the old settlement in the city center, but its inhabitants are living in really harsh conditions, and they're economically very unstable. So women in this area, in their houses, they don't have bathrooms or showers. They have toilets per se, let's make it clear, but they don't have a self-cleaning area other than a toilet. That's what they said. So they provided, this building was actually functional for them to use as a laundry and a community shower, but they never wanted to use the shower for cultural purposes. But they would use the washing machines frequently, but they also couldn't provide any detergents or soap. And they kind of reached out to see what we could do with it. And we asked how they do go on with their daily lives, basically, like how do you not wash yourself, or how often do you wash yourself, how often do you wash your kids and the clothes. And they said that was like once a week, probably, in most of the cases, and they had to be financed. So we asked, also the area when we first visited was in autumn, I think, so there was still some smoke in the air, and we kind of asked why there's this wood smoke around this area, and they said they're still using old stoves for house heating. So they were burning wood or charcoal in a better scenario. If not, they were burning fabric waste. That's usually the case with the poorer communities. but there was so their main waste was ash. So that's why we actually offered the soap making workshop, so that we could repurpose their ashes. And then they would have the access to go into this. There's this public Turkish bath that is recently renovated, and there were negotiations held when we had the meeting with the municipality. The municipality offered to give the locals 2 days of free access, so that they could use the bathrooms that are gender separated, by the way. Turkish baths are for women and men separated, which was not the case in this building, so they didn't want to use it. So we developed first. So we developed a set, and now my daughter wants to go to the bathroom because I talked about bathroom so much. Okay, very quickly.
I can continue if you want, Daria, so
Yes,
you
yes,
can take your
continue.
time.
But
Okay.
I first, Dilek, I first have to maybe say they are sewing it. We design a batting kit. It was a kind of bag, a kind of fabric bag that they can put everything in it. Their own needs, like soaps, and kind of combs and different kind of needs that when people are bathing. Actually, we did one prototype and we brought this there. They had fortunately a kind of sewing lab, and they had a kind of instructor about sewing, and they did their own bags for themselves, and then they had to personalize the bags. And at that time, Dilek, of course, taught them how to dye, how to plant them, how to color with different plants. Dilekçim, you can continue.
Here you see some sort of plants that they were using already in their kitchen. We just try to we were knowing that it's one of the knowledge, the tactile knowledge from their countries too. They paid so much attention to that. We expected them to use those colors also for their bathing pieces. We and they were really so much paying attention to that. And we had really great fun, as you see on the screen right now. We boiled it together and we talked. We also shared our experience for onion, for instance, because cooking was dyeing was kind of a cooking thing. We tried to share our experiences with onion, for instance. There was some that was also one of the most interesting parts from my point of view with those ladies. We extracted different colors. We taught them, of course, how you can use your kitchen waste to color your anything, with the natural dye. So here you see, for instance, we just dip down the hammam kits after they sewn those pieces. We colored it and we taught them how you can change the color, how you can get tones with very cheap material. Maybe even you don't need to pay anything. That was also a great experience with them. Also, some women shared their own experiences with the same plant. I also learned so many things from them during that process. And we also did this, we cooked this material all together with those ladies. And you see all of us in here. We are doing those witchy stuff. That was also a great experience for us. We told them you should also, while you're cooking things, you can collect your own stuff in your local environment. So that also something healing yourself. I mean, the process is something like that. So they were kind of opening up their minds during that time. It was a really like a meditating process with all of us. It was like a women community at that time. Here, for instance, we were trying to share our alchemic solutions together with them. How you can change the color, for instance, how you can develop your own tones with different techniques. That was also other important part. Also, we use those plants in the soaps. We put them into those molds with the ladies. That was also part of this. I mean, we still touching the water while dyeing things, of course. That was also another important part in that workshop with this community center. And they were really expecting, that was also interesting then, they were kind of expecting some sort of beauty solutions with those plants. We shared this information together with them. You see the tones of color with the little touches on the screen right now. And here we are also just having fun together with those beautiful ladies. Yes, I didn't want to talk that much in detail, technical details, but
I
with
would
a
love
really,
Dilek, I would like to add the name.
which name?
Stays of that. I mean, touching water and soap. I mean, it's translated from Turkish actually.
Yes,
It's
yani
a
in
Turkish
Turkish it's
expression.
great.
It's originally suya sabuna dokunmak. Filizciğim burada durdur istersen. Suya sabuna dokunmak. It's also metaphorically, it's about doing something which is not your business, kind of like. So it was a kind of irony that we take it from this verb, the expression. So by entertaining in our meetings, we find this kind of very interesting names. But it was like, as we were having a story about bathing. So it was really touching the water and soap. But the expression comes from from a completely different meaning.
Actually, it translates as good for nothing.
What? What?
Good for nothing. So that materials were seen that way, at least. And I don't know why, like it's in our culture for thousands of years. People have been doing at least olive oil soaps, you know, it's the thing. Or even our cuisine is very much dominated with stuff that's deep fried, you know, deep fried bread. We deep fried dough, at least. We deep fried dough, we deep fried vegetables, we deep fried everything. So there's always this leftover olive oil that the people just started throwing away. Not just properly packing and disposing it, but down the drain. So that was one of the reasons we wanted to use that material so it wouldn't go into the ecosystem. Also because they were already burning wood ash and olive oil make the perfect. And also if you want to, you know, mind about your own business and go and wash yourself, why not have those kits with those fabrics and use natural materials for dyeing? And actually during Dilek's let's say witch cauldron experiment with the natural dyes, they were very interested. They were asking about what kind of fabrics they could dye, if they could dye their own clothes, what kind of materials would hold which color, what should they wash it with. So it became very popular. They just started. Also, those communities do a lot of knitting. So maybe they were also looking into the possibilities of dyeing their own threads. We don't know. So that know-how exchange is actually something we're eager to ignite this conversation. So it was also a very nice thing.
And the interesting, I mean, women really enjoyed. I remember that day, and they asked us to come again for making more natural cosmetics and other kind of stuff. So, and was really like they were really open to learn, by the way, and they were knowing a lot of things, by the way. That was also very exciting for us. So we have 2 more projects actually, but before continuing with that, if you want, we can make a short break, 10 minutes break, and then the last 2 projects we can also discuss about that, and then we can have more questions, or we can discuss that about different concepts from the audience. You can raise other issues. We can continue with the recent project. It's called Wearing Scents. And in this workshop, we explore the relationship between scents and fabrics through their sensual approach. We organize the workshop at Urla Bread Space, which is a kind of creative hub managed by a gallery, K2 Art Gallery in Izmir. And Urla is in the periphery of Izmir. So we invited a herbal community. It's called Bir Avuç. It's very difficult to translate actually the meaning of Bir Avuç. It's like a
handful.
Nedir?
A handful.
Handful, yes. So they are a herbal community. Actually, 2 members of the collective, Anna and Öktem, contributed us, and we met them through Dilek also, because Dilek is through her herbal practices. She was already working with them, and we met with them again in Bacham. Bacham, do you want to say something about Bacham, Dilek? A few words about Bacham in Balıkesir.
Sure. It's a Bacham was a kind of institution of the Balıkesir municipality. They are producing medical flowers and herbals in kind of, they are growing and collecting those plants, healing which has some sort of healing properties, and they are bringing communities like us, or herbalists, people working with plants but in the various aspects. I mean, you can even dye with plants. You can even you can be a kind of aromatherapist, etc., or healers, meditation people, etc. And they have a festival organized once in a year. All around Turkey, Anatolia is coming together in that festivals. They are sharing their own products, but the only thing should be also related with the herbal. And the aim of this institution was protecting those precious plants growing in Anatolia, because Anatolia has really a very huge collection of those aromatherapic plants, herbals, healing plants. That's why it has a great importance. It has such a center. There is also an herbarium in it. I'm also working with those people over there within a different aspects. We are trying to protect those plants too, starting from the seeds and so on, and trying to understand, trying to explain people why they are important, etc. Last year they had a very interesting not a workshop, a kind of we did a foraging event. We the head of the Bacham prepared, and a couple of people prepared plant rights, and we read rights to plants. I mean, you can say still we have criticizing, talking about the human rights. But for Bacham and for us, of course, every living element has certain rights. We are writing manifesto for plants right now. With Bacham, I'm working with that people too, as a part of our, which is of the East community. So Biavuç Collective is one of those community. That's why also Şölen Hoca brought us together too.
When we met with them in Bacham, I was also invited for a talk last year, and I saw that they were doing a workshop about sands. I asked them if we can do a workshop together, and that they were also very much interested in exploring textiles. And they said, oh, why don't we explore the relationship between sands and textiles? So that the sands are created from essential oils, what they do. And in this workshop, we also invited another expert called Nihat Özdal. He was also the curator of the Textile Biennale. He's also a poet, and he's a designer of sands. And he also brought a part of the workshop was from his inspiration of his creations. He also brought his sands that he called his part fragrance weaving, which was based on the idea that the body and senses can be used as active tools for art. While the senses of smell and touch are often overshadowed by visual and auditory experiences, this performance attempted to bring these senses to the forefront and invited the audience to engage in both physical and mental interaction. So he introduced us with 4 different senses developed from his memories, from his childhood, teenage, youth, and maturity. Additionally, the strips made from this black satin fabric he brought allowed us to both tie them to a tree in the garden to interact with the sense and to cover our eyes so that we could highlight our sense of smell there. So he also asked us how it feels that touching the sand. That was an interesting concept for us. We could touch through means of fabric, of course. That it was also here the instrumental role of fabric appeared. Herbal communities part, Biavuç part, is also called the relationship between holistic transformation and sand fabric. It was a kind of 3-4 hours workshop, and it's split before and after lunch break. We try to interact sense of smell through essential oils and touching through different type of fabrics. We have used materials such as oil mixing bowls, essential oils, base oils, plant-based glycerin bottles, pipettes, stirring rods, tissues. These materials, of course, had a kind of budget, and we could find also a sponsor who was creating essential oils, and other fabric samples we provided from the school. The content of the work was about discovery of our sensual approach about our senses, our intentions. And 2 questions there is that one of them was, how can natural essential oils and fabrics help support the motivation needed for healing in response to the individual's mood, emotional state, or discomfort they want to work on and change periodically? And the second question was, how do the fabric elements we use in daily life, clothing, have a holistic effect on humans? And how do they combine with the notes of natural plant oils to create an overall effects? You probably know that nowadays that when we have a relationship with a scent, with a perfume even, our clothes are really affected from this perfume or different kind of scents. And we were also imagining that people could also bring some clothes and they can try on, but we couldn't do this part of the experiment, but we could just try on some fabric samples. And the flow of the event started with an opening circle, which we focus on, again, two aspects. The first aspect was intention. What was the intention in the context of personal growth and transformation? And they offered 4 different intentions to us. One was focus, the other one was relaxation, the other one was purification and transformation. And they were also searching about the possibility of intention and how we could approach intention for our transformation, how we can work on ourselves with this intention in mind. So it was a really very meditative experience, and I was with Phyllis, we were the supervisors of, we could only, as witches, we could only, attend, but we attended, we interacted it, we wanted, and we were affected by that. And the second dimension was space. In that regards, they were asking about how do we relate to all elements outside of ourselves within the framework of intent, and how does the external universe interact with us, and how can we read this relationship through the concept of space. So practice was about, after setting an intention from this focus, relaxation, purification, and transformation, a meditative game is played by using written papers in the space. So we wrote our intention, our demands, problems, and try to find motivations related to our intent through body and spatial awareness. I can say that we learn the motivation corresponding to our intent using bodily swaying and intuitive withdrawal as well. Then in the circle, we have discussed first that we expressed ourselves, what do we want, what do we feel about our intentions, our problems, our suffering issues, and how through emotions we can heal them. So after that, of course, there was a lunch break, and that the practical and theoretical part after lunch merged, and we designed some scents, but the lunch was also specially designed. Lunch was designed by us because in the lunch, they also ask some foods without spices, without some other scents that wouldn't actually create a kind of confusion in the space. And we really ask, we found a young chef from culinary department, and he cooked us this very healthy food, and we ate this more herbal kind of healthy food without spicy and this kind of onions or garlic kind of things. And then after lunch, we gathered around the table, and in our first practice, we explore which essential oils we can match with fabrics in line with the theme and motivation we have paired with, and we designed with different herbal notes. There were some first notes, secondary notes. So they explained us this, how we can use these notes according to our intention. And my intention, for example, was focusing, because I was delaying some of my important projects. So I design a scent. I mean, it's here actually. It's in my table, and I sometimes smell it and put on the fabric so that it helps me to concentrate in my working environment. So this scent was not understood as a kind of perfume or smelling nice or making yourself attractive, but it was more about like, what do you need sensually kind of idea, and how scents could be instrumental in that aspect. So we examined the relationship between scent, motivation, and fabric. And the fabric in fabric dimension, we actually discovered differences between natural fibers, petroleum-derived materials and technological fabrics also, because what I mean by technological fabrics is actually resistant to some kind of body odors that which we generally use in sportswear. And we realized that when we poured the sands on the fabrics, generally some natural fibered fabrics could only take sand more how can I say, Phyllis? They were taking it more naturally, and we could really sense the smell. So we explore how sounds are perceived, not just bodily. So we get used to sense it bodily dimension through their physical aspect, but through fabrics, since the essential oils could not also can be poured on the body. So that was another thing that we had to be careful about. They have to be soluble with different ingredients like water, alcohol, that they need to be soluble with them, and try to observe these differences through experience. And in the closing event also, it was nice. I mean, everyone, healed, I think. Phyllis, would you like to add something that, because was also your experience, I think?
Yes, this was also a new experience for us. We did even a research before the workshop about the sand and fabric relationship. It's also again a kind of scientific process. I think we should continue on that part with another workshop, maybe.
Yeah, we have to extend the fabric part. It was so much thing in the workshop, so we had to discover ourselves. We had to know about the sand and the intentions and so on. So the fabric dimension for a day, it was too much. So maybe we need a second day for that. So I hope we will repeat it again with more. But it was completely a new perspective. I think it's also a completely new perspective for the world of design. That I realized that not so many people are talking about the relationship between textiles and the sand, this sensual approach, and mostly that we are associating haptic quality of fabrics as another slow design dimension. So this is also important to discover, because there is also hierarchy of senses. Hazel Clark wrote about that in her article also, that it's the in regards to the hierarchy of senses, historically the visual and the hearing sense is more in the sight, and the haptic quality, the touching, is actually kind of unforgotten kind of sense. So with maybe slow fashion, the idea of slowness also brought this approach, because we create a kind of emotional and sensual relationship with clothes, that when we have a kind of relationship like that, we can think of more the possibility of longevity about the clothes that we are using. So here, recently I started to hear about scented clothing. I don't know, it's another experiment, like a kind of biodesign, as you say. Okay, so this was it. And the last project that we would like to talk about is hydrophilic textiles. Sorry.
In this project, we collect the rainwater, analyzed and reused for developing naturally dyed textiles, which have less ecological impact actually, and experimental clothing designs are developed by making use these hydrophilic textiles. through personalized clothing alternatives. Like the results of the analysis of the rainwater collected from the different regions at different times by ourselves in same city, the colors created by the diet with this water also varied, also different. And the transformation of fabrics is made possible by color-sensitive substances that react to individual mixture of chemical components. In rainwater, it changes according to the acidic or alkaline characteristic of the water. And in the exhibition, this transformation, along with the chemical analysis of water, presented as an infographic visual data that prepared by Daria. In addition, the transparent water reservoirs produced with the 3D printer mounted on the clothes that allow rainwater to be collected through the clothes by using a kind of tubes.
And of course, Dilek dyed the fabrics here. Dilek, would you like to talk about the process of this dyeing?
Yes, I can give a little bit of information about that. In the natural dyeing tradition, the rainwater is the most valuable one, and the pH value, the alkaline level is important. The difference of the alkaline and the acidic level was really changing the tones of color. We try to experiment these witches. We all collected those rainwater from our regions where we were living. That was really interesting also. Normally while dyeing the fabric pieces, we are always expecting the pH value as 7, for instance. So the rainwater value is normally the excellent value, for instance. So while we are collecting these water, when it was raining, it was a really interesting experience for us, because the tones, for instance, water gives a different color shades with the Reseda lutea. I don't know in English, the Latin name is Reseda lutea, muhabbet çiçeği in Turkish. That was giving maybe the different yellows. Şölen Hoca's yellow was different, and mine was different too. That was also represented in those infographics where Daria did it. In this graphic, you can see it. We tried Reseda lutea, eucalyptus, and nuts, Nux gallica in Latin word. Yes, walnut. So the shades were really differently changing. That was also another interesting part of that. And scientifically, we recorded the values too. That was a part of our project as well. Those plants were also part of our vicinity. We are also keep in touch with those plants in our Aegean part. I don't know, I'm sure you know those plants too. Eucalyptus, for instance, why we selected eucalyptus, because it has a really interesting relation with water. In Izmir and in our vicinity, the municipalities are destroying the eucalyptus because it takes so much water, and water was important. We try to pay attention to that and to try to give importance to the water sources. That was also one of our challenging parts. That's why we selected eucalyptus. Mayor's municipality was taking the branches, and they were destroying those big eucalyptus plants in the Izmir city. That's why we selected eucalyptus. And the Nux gallica was also same. We have so many walnuts in Izmir. Rezada lutea was one of the other plants growing in our country too, our city too. That was one of our selections, decisions.
And in regards to the design of the garments, that me and Filiz designed the garments, and our philosophy here is actually the body is full of water. I mean, almost 80% of the body is water, and there are these different water flows, and we use body as a kind of code here when designing this cyclic path of design. And the irony was that this 3D printed the bag, a kind of rainwater bag, is collecting the water from the shoulder and taking it to, you know, like, because the water will be so valuable in the future and we will be scarce of that, and we are not aware of that. And it was first designed for with the demand of Goethe Institute Izmir. It was a project, the global project called Our Water, and we first presented there. And then this year it was also become a part of a group exhibition called Contract. In that case, the contract between our Anthropocene culture and nature, the contract between us and water. So it was ecologically responding to the theme. So that was the last exhibition that we just did. I mean, it's still on. This exhibition is in Izmir, in a very nice historical center. So I think that's it. So that's, you can see all here from the posters, Textile Biennale, and starting from our the journey as witches of this collective from Textile Biennale, and the last stop was the contract exhibition, and the previous one that I give an artist talk as a part of a project, Swedish Institute Seed Fund project about craftivism in Stockholm, and I also promoted Witches of the East collective there. I mean, that's the Swedish community. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. I don't know any of the witches that would like to contribute with any other ideas, but I think that's what we would like to present to you for now. I think one of our friends, that Göknil from GE, she asked how she can follow us. I mean, basically nowadays through our Instagram page is more active. We try to keep it updates, and we don't have a mailing list. Thanks to GFA community, we had a little bit of production budgets. I hope we can find more fund and we can continue to make this kind of workshops and more events to document. And documentation is done by a very valuable friend, director Ilyas Hayta. He became really a good friend to us. He became almost a kind of male witch to us, that he wanted to understand. He was not just a kind of technical documenter, but he was really inherently trying to reflect our work and our philosophy. And I think it was successful what he did. We are, especially this short film we really like. We are proud of it. So we are very happy to be able to share it with you. Thank you so much for giving us this space, and thank you so much for joining, and your valuable comments and inspiring feedbacks. It's our first launch, you know, almost.
So maybe just a real kind of looking just before you take this image off the screen is really in such a short time, and echoing what Angela said, is we've done an incredible amount of work, and I think this question of why do we do this work in the face of enormous climate crisis and kind of planetary crisis that we're dealing with. I think your work is so pioneering and inspirational, and so I'm hoping that through recording this and sharing this, that it can grow. So really, really, really inspiring. There's so many overlaps with some of the other coalitions who are also talking about, yesterday Chepkenboy was talking with her community, and it was about coming back to ways of engaging with our fashioned selves in ways that respect and are in relation with, this question of being in relation with each other, with community, but also with plants, with nature, with land, with ourselves. And I think what stood out for me is this kind of embodiment of a new way of, not new as in it hasn't happened before, but it's so counter to the way that we've been taught for the last 100 years to think about fashion. So I think very, very inspirational on so many levels.
Feedback, Erica, because that is exactly what we would like. How we start is with the idea of, we just discovered symbiosis and the interconnectedness. It's so much, I think it has been so much forgotten, this idea. It's so important for vitality. And that's how you read this. It's very, how can I say, it's very correctly and everything that we wanted to reflect. Thank you so much for your comments.
I think I'm very, very, very happy just to say thank you so much. Thank you for creating a pathway. And Rolando Vasquez, in one of his in Vistas of Modernity, he talks about the loss of culturally diverse pathways into the future. That is really, really limited the way in which the planet is being guided to think about alternate futures. And I think your pathways that you've kind of started to map out, to draw out, led by these feminist knowledges in relation to such deep and sort of historical practices, can offer us new pathways into the future. So thank you so much.